As we journey through life, societal pressures often lead us to put others' needs before our own, especially when it comes to attending social gatherings and maintaining relationships. From childhood, we're taught that saying no is impolite, selfish, and disappointing. But as we age, particularly in our 60s, 70s, and beyond, we begin to understand the value of our time and energy. We realize that it's impossible to please everyone. In today's video, we explore the power of saying no, how it's not only an act of self-preservation, but a crucial step towards living a more authentic, fulfilling life. The pressure of social expectations. A lifetime of yeses. In our earlier years, we often felt the weight of social obligations more intensely. From the time we were children, we were socialized to say yes to every invitation, to attend every event, and to maintain every friendship, even when doing so didn't align with our needs or desires. Whether it was a school function, a family gathering, a work event, or a friend's birthday, we were taught that it was our duty to show up, to be present, and to participate in whatever was expected of us. This cultural conditioning created a belief that saying no was somehow disrespectful or inconsiderate, and as a result, we often found ourselves in situations where we were not only uncomfortable, but also emotionally drained. As we entered adulthood, this cycle continued. We said yes to social obligations because we feared the judgment of others. We feared that saying no might make us appear selfish, unkind, or uninterested. The weight of this pressure was particularly heavy when it came to maintaining friendships and family relationships. There were countless occasions when we attended gatherings out of sheer obligation, not because we genuinely wanted to be there, but because we felt it was expected of us. Over the years, this cycle of saying yes became a habit, one that we followed blindly without ever questioning whether it was truly fulfilling or necessary. But as we age, the veil of societal expectation begins to lift. We start to see that our needs, our peace of mind, and our personal well-being matter just as much as the needs of others. We begin to recognize that not all social obligations are created equal, and some of them may not be worth the time and energy they require. This shift in perspective is liberating. It allows us to say no without guilt, to prioritize our own desires and comfort over external expectations, and to focus on the relationships and activities that truly bring us joy. The gift of saying no, creating space for what matters. As we reach our later years, particularly when we cross into our 70s, we often find that we no longer have the energy or desire to engage in activities that don't serve our happiness or well-being. What was once a matter of politeness or obligation becomes a matter of personal choice. At this stage in life, we've had enough experiences to understand that true fulfillment doesn't come from constant socializing or from meeting others' demands. Instead, fulfillment comes from within, through quiet moments of reflection, personal growth, and spending time with those who genuinely enrich our lives. Saying no is not just about rejecting social obligations. It is about reclaiming our time and energy for the things that matter most. It is about choosing to spend time with loved ones who lift us up, pursuing passions that bring us joy, and creating space for peace and solitude. It's about letting go of the fear of disappointing others and allowing ourselves to prioritize our own needs and desires without guilt or shame. When we say no to unnecessary social obligations, we open up the possibility of saying yes to more meaningful experiences. This newfound freedom can take many forms. For some, it may mean declining invitations to large social events that feel draining or overwhelming. For others, it may mean saying no to relationships that no longer align with their values or desires. It could involve choosing to spend more time alone, savoring the peace that comes with solitude, or making time for activities that nurture the soul, whether that's taking long walks in nature, reading a good book, or pursuing a hobby that has always been put on the back burner. The beauty of aging is that we finally understand that we have the right to curate our lives in a way that brings us peace and fulfillment, without worrying about the expectations of others. Letting go of the guilt. Learning to prioritize ourselves. One of the most challenging aspects of saying no is overcoming the guilt that often accompanies it. For many of us, saying no feels like we are letting someone down, or that we are being selfish or inconsiderate. We fear that by choosing ourselves, we may hurt someone's feelings or damage a relationship. But the truth is, saying no is not about being selfish, it's about self-preservation. In order to be the best version of ourselves and to show up authentically in our relationships, we must first take care of ourselves. Over the years, we have been conditioned to believe that the needs of others should always come first. We've been taught to put our obligations to family, friends, and society above our own desires. But as we age, we begin to realize that this mindset is not sustainable. We are not limitless beings. We have finite energy, time, and resources. If we constantly give without considering our own needs, we deplete ourselves, and the quality of our relationships and experiences suffers. Learning to say no is a powerful act of self-love. It is a declaration that our time is valuable, that our peace is important, and that we deserve to spend our energy on the things that truly matter. It is also an invitation for others to respect our boundaries, to understand that we have our own lives to live, and that we are not obligated to meet their every expectation. When we release the guilt associated with saying no, we give ourselves permission to live authentically and with intention. We give ourselves permission to say yes to the things that nourish our souls and to no longer feel bound by the expectations of others. The freedom in saying no, cultivating joyful living. As we enter the later chapters of life, one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is the freedom to choose where we direct our time and energy. Saying no is a powerful tool in this process. It allows us to reclaim our lives from the obligations that no longer serve us and to focus on the things that truly matter. It is not an act of defiance, but an act of wisdom, an acknowledgement that we are in control of our own happiness and we have the right to protect our peace. This freedom to say no opens up a world of possibilities. It creates space for new opportunities, for personal growth, and for deeper connections with those who truly bring us joy. It allows us to explore passions that we may have neglected in the past, to invest in relationships that are supportive and fulfilling, and to experience life with greater clarity and purpose. Saying no is not about shutting ourselves off from the world, but rather about making intentional choices that allow us to live authentically and with purpose. In the end, the power of saying no lies in its ability to give us control over our lives. It is a reminder that our time is precious and that we have the right to prioritize our own needs, desires, and happiness. As we grow older, we can choose to live life on our own terms, free from the pressure of social obligations, and embrace the joy that comes from living authentically and with intention. By learning to say no, we open the door to a more fulfilling, peaceful, and joyful existence. The social pressure to conform. For many of us, saying yes to social invitations has been ingrained from a young age. In our youth, we might have been conditioned to believe that being constantly available and saying yes to every invitation was an essential part of being liked, of being seen as fun, friendly, and engaged. This often leads to a pattern of people-pleasing behavior that continues well into adulthood. For years, we attend events out of obligation, to avoid disappointing others, to conform to social expectations, or simply because we fear missing out. The fear of missing out, or FOMO, is a powerful force, one that convinces us that we must always be present, always engaged, and always socializing to maintain relationships or keep up with the world around us. However, as we approach or surpass our 70s, this social pressure begins to lessen, and we gain the wisdom that comes with age. We start to see the futility in spreading ourselves too thin and the importance of curating the relationships and activities that bring us joy. We recognize that not every event or social interaction is worth our time, and perhaps most importantly, we begin to understand that our time is finite, something we cannot afford to waste on obligatory, joyless gatherings. The freedom of saying no. The true power of saying no lies in the freedom it gives us to say yes to the things that genuinely matter. When we stop attending events out of a sense of duty or fear of missing out, we create space for deeper, more meaningful connections. The energy we once wasted on forced smiles and uncomfortable conversations can now be redirected toward relationships and experiences that nourish our souls. Think of the moments you've spent with close friends or family, or the quiet times you've enjoyed alone, reading a book, or reflecting in nature. These are the moments that truly bring joy and meaning to our lives, and they are far more valuable than any social obligation. At the heart of this is the concept of intentionality. By being selective about how and with whom we spend our time, we give ourselves the opportunity to be more present in our interactions. Imagine a gathering where you show up not because you had to, but because you genuinely wanted to. Your presence would be more authentic, more energized, and more meaningful because it is motivated by desire, not duty. You would be able to engage more deeply in conversation, to truly connect with others, and to enjoy the experience for what it is, rather than feeling like you're just crossing an item off your to-do list. Saying no also allows for the opportunity to honor yourself in ways that aren't immediately obvious. It's about self-care. It's about setting boundaries that protect your emotional energy and create the mental and physical space to replenish and rejuvenate. We cannot pour from an empty cup, and by refusing to give more than we can, we ensure that we have the energy to invest in what is truly important. The power of protecting your energy. At the heart of saying no is the recognition that our energy is one of our most valuable resources. With age comes the wisdom that not all things are worth our energy. We learn to conserve our energy for the things that align with our values, our passions, and our true desires. We understand that by saying no to events that don't bring us joy, we are preserving our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. This shift in perspective can be incredibly freeing. It's important to remember that saying no does not make us selfish. It makes us wise. By protecting our energy, we allow ourselves to be more present in the moments that truly matter. We create space for deeper connections, for activities that nourish us, and for a life that is aligned with our true selves. And in doing so, we can show up for others in a way that is meaningful and fulfilling. The gift of saying no. Without guilt. One of the most challenging aspects of saying no is the guilt that often accompanies it. We fear disappointing others, feeling like we're letting them down or that we're being selfish. But the truth is, saying no without guilt is a gift not just to ourselves, but also to others. When we say no, we are being honest about our limits and honoring our needs. This honesty and authenticity are far more valuable than any forced attendance at an event that we don't want to be at. It's an act of integrity. By choosing to honor ourselves, we are modeling healthy boundaries for others to do the same. As we learn to say no with grace and confidence, we create an environment in which we can thrive. We stop living our lives based on other people's expectations and start living for ourselves. The more we practice this, the more we begin to recognize that it's not selfish to prioritize our well-being. It's necessary. It is an essential act of self-love. The weight of old habits and unfulfilled obligations. For many of us, routines and habits built over a lifetime can become so ingrained that we follow them out of sheer habit, even when they no longer offer fulfillment. A hobby you once loved might now feel like a tedious chore, something you do simply because it's expected of you rather than because it sparks any real joy. This can be especially true with social groups or long-standing traditions. Perhaps a weekly meet-up with friends that once provided laughter and connection now feels more like a burden. Or maybe you've held on to certain traditions for the sake of nostalgia, feeling guilty at the thought of letting go. But it's crucial to ask yourself, does this still serve me? Does this still make me feel alive? At this stage of life, letting go of activities or relationships that no longer bring you joy isn't a sign of defeat. It's a step toward liberation. It's a way of creating space for new passions and experiences that are in alignment with who you are now, not who you were decades ago. The beauty of this stage is that there are no expectations. No one expects you to stick to a script that no longer resonates with your soul. You are free to evolve, to change, and to redefine what gives you meaning. The freedom of releasing old obligations, letting go of outdated routines isn't always easy. There's often a sense of duty that comes with long-standing commitments, whether it's a weekly dinner with family or a long-time hobby that's become more of an obligation than a joy. But the truth is, these obligations can weigh heavily on our spirits, especially as we enter our later years. The idea of cutting ties with certain habits or activities may feel uncomfortable at first, as if we're abandoning something important or betraying the past. Yet, releasing these things is not an act of betrayal. It is an act of self-care, of making space for what truly nourishes you in the present moment. The freedom that comes with saying no to things that no longer serve us is profound. Imagine a life where your days are filled with only the activities and relationships that uplift you, that bring joy and fulfillment, rather than those that drain you. This is the gift that comes with evaluating your time and energy. It's a chance to be intentional with how you spend your days, ensuring that every moment is spent doing something that truly resonates with you. The power of letting go and embracing the unknown. One of the hardest aspects of letting go is the fear of the unknown. We cling to routines because they offer a sense of security and familiarity. But what if, instead of resisting change, we leaned into it? What if we embraced the uncertainty and allowed ourselves to be open to new experiences, even if they feel intimidating or unfamiliar? As we age, we often become more attuned to the idea that life is unpredictable. We've seen enough of the world to know that things don't always go according to plan. But rather than feeling fearful of this uncertainty, we can choose to see it as an exciting opportunity. The unknown isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. Letting go of what no longer serves us opens up space for new adventures and joys that we may never have expected. There is something deeply liberating about the act of releasing. Whether it's letting go of a long-held belief, a relationship that no longer serves you, or an activity that has lost its spark, there is a sense of renewal that comes with it. By releasing the old, we create room for the new. It's as if we're clearing out the clutter of our lives to make space for something brighter, something that aligns more closely with who we are today. The invitation to reflect and rediscover. Joy. This period of reflection and letting go is a powerful invitation to assess how we are spending our time. Are there activities or relationships that have become more of a burden than a blessing? Are there things in your life that you continue out of habit, even though they no longer bring you fulfillment? This is the time to take a step back and ask yourself what truly matters. What brings you joy, peace, and satisfaction? For some, this process may involve letting go of things that have long been a part of their identity. For others, it may be about reimagining what's possible. It's important to remember that this process is not about abandoning everything. Sometimes it's simply about reevaluating what is worth keeping and what is worth letting go. The ultimate goal is to create space for joy. Joy doesn't come from fulfilling obligations or maintaining routines for the sake of others. It comes from living authentically, from choosing to engage in activities and relationships that truly nourish the soul. When we release what no longer serves us, we open up the opportunity to explore what could be. The liberation of self-acceptance. Imagine what your life could look like if you no longer compared it to others. Imagine the relief of releasing the burden of measuring your success by someone else's standards. It's a freeing thought. Letting go of comparison allows you to embrace your life in its own right. This isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a deep emotional release. By freeing yourself from the constant need to match or surpass others, you make space for gratitude, for self-compassion, and for a deeper connection to your true self. This freedom isn't immediate, of course. It's a gradual process that requires a shift in how we view our achievements. At times, you may look at someone else's success and still feel a twinge of jealousy or doubt. But over time, with conscious effort and practice, that impulse fades, and you begin to see your life as a series of unique experiences, worthy of recognition and celebration in its own right. Letting go of comparisons doesn't mean you stop noticing what others are doing. It means that you no longer allow their achievements to define your own worth. You begin to see that your happiness is an internal experience, not dependent on someone else's outward success. It becomes less about measuring your life against the highlight reel of others, and more about appreciating your own quiet, unspoken victories. It's about honoring your journey, the small steps you've taken, the challenges you've overcome, and the wisdom you've accumulated along the way. The problem with the highlight reel. It's important to understand that the lives we compare ourselves to aren't the full picture. Social media, in particular, is notorious for showcasing only the best moments, vacations, accomplishments, celebrations, but it rarely shows the underlying struggles that accompany these moments. Behind every smiling family portrait, there may be moments of doubt, hardship, or loneliness. Behind every professional achievement may lie years of unseen effort, failure, and resilience. By letting go of comparisons, we give ourselves the freedom to recognize that these highlight reels do not reflect the full, complex human experience. We realize that, just like us, others are working through their own challenges. Their path to success may be different from yours, but it is no less meaningful. Comparing our inner struggles to someone else's outward success creates a distorted view of what happiness and fulfillment really are. This insight is particularly important as we enter the later stages of life, where we may feel the pressure to have done more or to have accomplished certain things by a certain age. But the reality is, there's no universal checklist for success. We are all living a narrative that is uniquely ours, and that narrative, with all its imperfections and triumphs, is worthy of celebration. Redefining success on your own terms. When we let go of the need to compare, we open ourselves to the possibility of defining success on our own terms. For some, success might look like financial security or professional achievements. But for others, it might mean cultivating deep relationships, pursuing creative passions, or simply enjoying a peaceful life. The beauty of life after 70 is that we no longer need to fit into society's narrow definitions of success. We can create our own. As we age, we become more in tune with what truly matters to us. Success begins to take on new meanings. Perhaps it's finding joy in simple pleasures, spending time with loved ones, or creating something that is meaningful to us, whether it's an art project, a garden, or a new skill we've always wanted to master. In this stage of life, success is not about outward achievements that others can measure. It's about the peace we find within ourselves, the joy we create in our daily lives, and the love we nurture in our relationships. Letting go of comparisons makes space for this kind of introspective success. We begin to focus less on what others are achieving and more on what truly makes us happy, what brings us peace, and what aligns with our own values. This is a personal journey, and it is one that we can embark on at any stage of life, especially after 70, when we've accumulated enough experience to know what truly matters. Celebrating your unique path. As you reflect on your own life, consider what it would feel like to let go of the need to compare. How would your days change if you stopped measuring your worth against someone else's accomplishments? How much more joy could you experience if you focused on your own unique journey rather than someone else's? The truth is, your life is yours alone. It is full of its own stories, triumphs, and lessons, and that is something to be celebrated. Let go of comparisons, and you'll begin to see that your life is beautiful and meaningful, just as it is. Stop measuring your worth by someone else's yardstick, and embrace the joy and fulfillment that already exists within you. By letting go of comparisons, you unlock the power to live authentically and embrace your own unique path. It's time to celebrate the richness of your life and the beautiful person you've become. Embrace your journey with gratitude, self-compassion, and peace, knowing that your story is enough.